Hi, this is Pastor Rob here at North Rose United Methodist Church. We began our study of Galatians in church on Sunday, and we basically got through the first half of Galatians 1, and we're going to be moving on to Galatians 2 this Sunday. But I want to just quickly go over the second half of Galatians 1 to kind of connect the dots for you, because I think there's something very important in there about the gospel, which is what Paul is talking about. What Paul does in the second half of Galatians chapter 1 is he makes the point using his own life that the gospel is not something that was created by him or created by humans. It's something that comes directly from God. But as we read his story, there's something really cool, really important for each of us to recognize right in there. Starting in Galatians 1:13, Paul says, "For you have heard of my previous way of life in Judaism, how intensely I persecuted the church of God and tried to destroy it. I was advancing in Judaism beyond many of my own age among my people and was extremely zealous for the traditions of my fathers. But when God, who set me apart from my mother's womb and called me by his grace, was pleased to reveal his Son in me so that I might preach him among the Gentiles, my immediate response was not to consult any human being." So he's saying that, listen, all this is going on in his life. Jesus shows up and he doesn't consult human beings because Jesus gives him the gospel. But as you read this, you see that there's a couple things going on. And the first thing that's going on is that Paul thinks he's really doing well in his studies of Judaism, right? He's looking back at a time when he was really proud of where his studies were taking him. So in Paul's mind back then, he was doing really, really good. In fact, amongst his classmates, he says, "I was the best of the best." Meanwhile, he's using his faith to go around and persecute other people, right? He says that, "I was intensely persecuting the church." So to those around Paul, he wasn't the best of the best. He was the worst of the worst. So Paul in his own mind is great. Paul to those around him is just bad, right? He's the worst. And in the midst of this, God steps in and gives him a completely new purpose. And what I want you to see in that is two things. And I'm going to read them straight from this book by Tim Keller, because I think he does such a good job of summing it up. He says this, he says, Paul thinks he's great, the people thinks he's bad. Tim Keller says this: "No one is so good that they don't need the grace of the gospel, nor are they so bad that they can't receive the grace of the gospel. Paul was deeply religious, but he needed the gospel. Paul was deeply flawed, yet he could be reached by the gospel." And so that's the second half of Galatians chapter 1. It's Paul sharing his story, and in that we see a very precious truth that there is no one who is so good or can do so good or be so good that they can somehow get through this life and into heaven just because they think they're awesome. Also, there is no one so bad doing so many things so awful that they are beyond the reach of the love of Jesus. All right? And that's a really important lesson for us, because I think sometimes we get full of ourselves, and I think sometimes we get stuck in our shame and guilt. The gospel is for everyone, right? The truth that Jesus died for our sin is for everyone, right? And we're going to go on to chapter 2 now, and we are going to learn something important about the freedom that the gospel gives us. So I hope I see you Sunday. If I don't see you Sunday, check us out online. Follow along with the sermons. They're on our website, northroseumc.com. All right? Have a great day.